Lumber prices are dropping and buyer demand is coming down. So does that mean it's time for you to buy a new build home? Jeremy Knight, the Knight Group, your favorite Austin realtor. Look, it is true that prices have come down on lumber, and a lot of people are now starting to reach out to me and ask, is this the time to buy a new build? We're gonna go through that. We're gonna look through the stats, what's going on, what to expect over the next few months. And then I'm gonna give you some really good tips if you are gonna be buying a new build property between now and the end of the year. And as always, drop a comment below. I do want to hear from you and hear your thoughts on new builds, the market, all of that fun stuff. Drop it below. Here we go. So yes, the price of lumber has come down pretty significantly. At its peak, it was around $1,600. Now it's around $700. So that's more than half of what it was at its peak. So does that mean that prices for homes are coming down? Well, we do have to keep in mind that commodity prices are still relatively high and they haven't come down. So it wasn't just lumber that was causing prices to escalate over the last few months. It was demand, it was commodity prices, it was also builders were reducing the amount of homes they were building. And so even though they were taking contracts on a lot of these homes, they were doing one of two things. Either they weren't building that home right away, they were waiting for lumber prices to come down anyway, or two, they were doing a bid process. We've talked about this on this channel. Lennar is one of those ones that will get down to the end of the build and they'll put the property up for sale and they'll get everybody off their list to bid on it. D.L. Horton's another one of those. In fact, I really like D.L. Horton though. Taylor Morrison is another one of those. So what we've seen for a lot of these builders is those prices under 300 have disappeared and they've gone up quite drastically. And so what we were seeing week over week was a $20,000 price increase for a community. In fact, if you went on one of these lists, chances are by the time you got on the list and got off the list, the price for that home went up $100,000. So what does this mean? It just means that lumber prices coming down this quickly aren't necessarily going to reduce new build costs right away. Another thing that builders were doing was putting in escalation clauses, which meant that if those lumber prices continued to went up at that price, that they would start to increase the price of your home even more. Even though you're under contract, you could see escalating prices of that home. So hopefully we don't see that as much going forward. And if you are under contract with an escalation clause, hopefully with these lumber prices coming down, you won't see that escalation clause. Will they escalate your price down? No, they're not going to do that. But here's the other thing is that, a lot of these builders were waiting to put homes out until they were, 2 months out from being built. So they're still skirting these prices because when they put those homes out for bid, they kind of had an idea of what the finished price of that home was going to be. That way they could put that list price in, have you bid it up. Taylor Morrison was another one of those that did a to be built. So if you did the to be built with Taylor Morrison, you'd actually have to bid $250,000 on the lot. And so that helped builders increase these prices without actually increasing their base prices. Now, a lot of them did increase their base prices. So does that mean that prices are going to start coming down for builders now that lumber prices have come down? And the answer is no. Again, like I said, those commodity prices are still high. Builders don't want to decrease prices either because it'll hurt their other sales prices and hurt those other comps. They don't want to do that either. What some of these builders might start doing is if they are impacted by demand reducing and lumber prices coming down. Now, granted, we're going to need a lot of demand to decrease in these builds. What they'll start doing is releasing more inventory, right? So they're not going to reduce those prices, but they will increase more inventory, which means that there'll be more for people to buy. So I don't see prices coming down with these builders, but I do see them, definitely increasing inventory. The second thing is what I'm hearing from a lot of these builders is they're still doing bidding, which means that they're not putting out a lot of inventory. The other thing that they're doing is not increasing prices as much. One of the builders I was talking to said they were seeing $20,000 price increases. Now they're seeing about $5,000 price increases. So you'll start to see prices level off in new builds, but again, demand still has to really drop and inventory has to really increase for us to see a huge difference. Another thing that we might start seeing with some of these builders over the next few months is the fact that they might go back to doing more incentives. One thing that they stopped doing completely was incentives. So if you use their lender, they would give you, $5,000 towards upgrades and things like that, or they would do $5,000 off closing costs. So what we might see towards the end of this year is builders do more incentives for buyers. As we get towards the end of the year, we will see some of these builders hopefully start to do some of those year-end sales. Now, 2019, 2018, towards the end of the year, you'd see all these builders do massive sales. Will we see that in 2021? I really do hope so. If we do see it, I don't think it'll be as big as we saw in 19 and 18. Again, in 2020, I didn't see a huge amount of sales, but we did see a lot because really the inventory was starting to shrink pretty quickly in 2020, so we didn't really see a lot of those year-end sales. One of my other hopes for the end of this year is that with these incentives, more FHA buyers, VA buyers will get incentives to purchase new builds. I think one of the travesties that we've seen over the last year is they have been really forced out of this market. So I hope that is something that we start seeing towards the end of the year. Also, one thing I think builders are going to start doing again towards the end of the year is allowing more investors to purchase their new construction properties. Now, over the last year, they've kind of iced out investors, but if demand does drop down, they will open up to more investors because they want that buyer pool pushing those prices up as much as possible. So does this mean that you should buy a new build right now? Look, more inventory is hitting the market. In fact, this is the first week that I've actually seen in the Austin MLS where new inventory for resale homes exceeded those that went under contract, which means we are seeing more inventory finally. So if you have been waiting on the sidelines and you don't want to wait 6 to 10 months to buy a home, this might be a time to actually jump in and still be able to get a home without having to wait 10 months. Now, why is waiting 10 months a problem? Right? If you can lock in a price on a new build now and you don't have an escalation clause, or maybe you do have an escalation clause, but lumber prices are coming down, so you don't have to worry about that. But why would waiting 10 months be an issue versus buying right now? And really that has to do with interest rates. Interest rates still are extremely low. Everyone likes to say interest rates are going up or interest rates are going down or kind of speculating, but we really don't know what interest rates will be in 10 months. If you look 10 months back, people would have said that interest rates would have been up to the 4% this time of the year. They haven't. There have been people that have been saying that interest rates will be higher at the end of the year. So it might be worth it to look at the resale market and jump in the resale market. I know personally, we have a lot of clients who've said, you know what, I'm tired of the builders doing this stuff. I'm gonna jump into the resale. So we've done a lot more resale recently versus going under contract with new builds. So there you go, Jeremy Knight, the Knight Group. Oh, I wanna give you a good told you so. There's a community that I said that was the most disappointing community, which was Sky Ridge. And at the time I had gone through that community and they were saying prices were gonna be in the 800s. Well, they're listing homes on the MLS now because people haven't bought in these homes because they're overpriced. They're putting them on the market at $950 and $1.2 million. So when I said in that video that I saw prices gonna be more in the 9s and up to the 1.2, I was correct. So there you go. Jeremy Knight, the Knight Group, your favorite Austin realtor. What'd you think about this video? Love, hate? I don't know, drop a comment.